We live in a world increasingly shaped by algorithms. Artificial intelligence is no longer a futuristic fantasy. It's here. It's now. And it's impacting every aspect of our lives. For indigenous communities, however, AI represents a new and insidious form of colonialism. It's a digital manifestation of age-old patterns of exploitation and erasure. This isn't about progress, it's about power. It's about who controls the narrative, the technology, and the future. This new digital colonialism operates under the guise of objectivity and progress. But beneath the surface lies a dangerous reality. AI systems are often trained on biased data. This data reflects centuries of colonial perspectives and prejudices. The result? Algorithms that perpetuate harmful stereotypes and reinforce existing power structures. Indigenous communities are once again being marginalized, this time in the digital realm. The stakes are high. AI has the potential to exacerbate existing inequalities and injustices. It can further disenfranchise already marginalized communities. We must recognize AI's potential for harm. We must challenge the systems that perpetuate digital colonialism. The future of indigenous communities, and indeed, the future of a just and equitable world, depends on it. This isn't just an indigenous issue, it's a human issue. It's about recognizing the inherent dignity and rights of all people. It's about ensuring that technology serves humanity, not the other way around. Let's not repeat the mistakes of the past. Let's build a future where technology is a tool for liberation, not oppression. Imagine a world where your history, your language, your very identity are deemed irrelevant by the algorithms that govern society. This is the reality for many indigenous communities facing the onslaught of AI-driven erasure. AI systems, often trained on massive datasets of Western-centric information, fail to recognize and account for indigenous knowledge systems. This results in the systematic silencing of indigenous voices and perspectives. Search engines, for instance, often prioritize dominant narratives and perspectives. This means that indigenous voices already marginalized in mainstream media are further pushed to the periphery of the digital world. This digital invisibility has real-world consequences. It limits access to information, resources, and opportunities. It perpetuates harmful stereotypes and reinforces the idea that indigenous knowledge is somehow less valuable or relevant. This erasure is not accidental. It's a direct result of the biases embedded in many AI systems. These biases reflect the historical and ongoing legacy of colonialism, which has consistently sought to silence and erase indigenous cultures. We must challenge the idea that AI is neutral or objective. We must demand greater transparency and accountability in the development and deployment of these powerful technologies. The fight against digital erasure is a fight for cultural survival. It's about ensuring that indigenous voices are heard, their stories are told, and their knowledge is valued. It's about reclaiming space in the digital world and shaping the future of AI in a way that honors and respects the rights and perspectives of all people. Data is the lifeblood of AI. It's the raw material that fuels algorithms and shapes their outputs. But what happens when that data is incomplete, biased, or simply absent? For indigenous communities, the answer is clear. Their knowledge systems, their ways of knowing and being, are devalued and dismissed. The very essence of their cultures is rendered invisible in the eyes of the algorithm. Western science often views data as objective and quantifiable. Indigenous knowledge, on the other hand, is often holistic and relational. It's passed down through generations, embedded in stories, songs, and ceremonies. This kind of knowledge doesn't fit neatly into the databases that train AI systems. As a result, it's often ignored or misrepresented. This mismatch has serious consequences. It can lead to the development of AI systems that are insensitive to cultural nuances, disrespectful of indigenous protocols, and ultimately harmful to the communities they claim to serve. Imagine, for example, an AI-powered healthcare system that fails to recognize the importance of traditional healing practices, or an educational platform that overlooks the richness and complexity of indigenous languages and histories. We need to decolonize data. We need to recognize that indigenous knowledge is a valuable and necessary part of the equation. This means incorporating indigenous voices and perspectives into every stage of the AI development process. It means respecting indigenous data sovereignty and ensuring that communities have control over how their data is collected, used, and shared. The pursuit of profit knows no bounds, especially when armed with the tools of AI. For indigenous communities, this means facing a new wave of extractive industries empowered by sophisticated algorithms and driven by relentless greed. From mining to logging to oil and gas exploration, AI is being used to identify, target, and exploit resources on indigenous lands, often with devastating consequences. Imagine a swarm of AI-powered drones surveying vast tracts of rainforest, identifying potential mineral deposits with pinpoint accuracy, or algorithms analyzing satellite imagery to pinpoint the most efficient routes for pipelines and access roads, cutting through sacred sites and disrupting delicate ecosystems. This is the reality of AI-driven exploitation, where the land is seen as nothing more than a commodity to be plundered for profit. The use of AI in extractive industries exacerbates the historical injustices faced by indigenous communities. Their lands, often targeted for their resource wealth, are once again being sacrificed on the altar of corporate greed. This time, however, the tools of dispossession are digital, silent, and often invisible to the naked eye. We need to ask ourselves, what is the true cost of progress? Is it worth sacrificing the sacred lands and cultural heritage of indigenous communities for the sake of short-term economic gain? We need to move beyond the narrow lens of profit and embrace a more holistic understanding of development, one that respects the rights of indigenous peoples and the limits of our planet.